Welcome everybody to our higher education marketing webinar titled How to Empower Your Admissions Process Through Online Technology. It's presented by HEM, and if you're not familiar with us, we're a full-service digital marketing agency that serves the education sector exclusively. So we only work with schools and agents or agencies. We serve schools of all types and levels, so K-12s, career colleges, business schools, colleges and universities, public and private, language schools, around the world and in multiple languages. My name is Scott Cross, and I'll be one of your presenters today. I'm joined here by my colleague Elias Nasser, who is our Director of Technology Solutions and very much a builder of the two systems we're going to look at today. Hello, Elias.
Hi, Scott. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
So today, during the webinar, we're going to keep your microphones on mute just to kind of cover some housekeeping here. We do want to hear from you in terms of your questions. So in the GoToWebinar taskbar that pops up as you jumped in, you'll see a header called questions. In there, you can type your questions, and please feel free to type them at any time during the webinar. At the end of the webinar, we will read your questions and answer them at that time. So we'd love to hear from you in that regard. By keeping your microphone on mute, it allows us to push through lots of content in the time that we have. I also want to make sure you're aware you will receive the recording of this webinar as well as the deck in an email, maybe as soon as tomorrow, but probably in the next 2 to 3 days at the least. So we wanted to make sure you know you'll get that recording. So with that information all set, let's begin. I want to talk about what we're going to cover in today's presentation. We're going to talk about today's student recruitment pipeline and the technologies involved, as we've kind of already alluded to. We're going to take both of those topics and bring them together across a few scenarios of when people, prospective students, contact you in those early stages of just looking to identify potential schools or agencies, in those middle stages where they're considering you versus others and maybe want to have a conversation and begin to ask some questions, and then in those later stages where they're filling out an online application. We're going to show you where technology fits into each of those scenarios in the two technologies we're talking about specifically, and that'll dive deep into automation, system integration, and also it will end up with reporting so that you can understand how these are playing out in terms of lead volume and also enrollment rates. So let's begin by talking about today's recruitment pipeline. And this graphic seems to grow a little bit every couple of years because it's vast and various, right? You've got lots of digital places where, depending on how active you are and engaging, you may have forms across, of course, your website, your social media, paid ads. You may have calls to action through your email, your application portal, not to mention the offline and sometimes in-person elements that you have going on. You have a great deal of outreach involved overall, so not just digital. And of course, it also would involve any agents or partners that you have involved in helping you to recruit new prospective students. So what we're talking about is integrating all of those contact sources or channels together so that they, so that it's easy for you to manage them all in one place. That's where the Montic CRM comes into place. Specifically in today's webinar, we're going to showcase two of HEM's prime technologies to help you with these actions, and the Montic CRM is the first place that we're going to talk about because it's the place that's going to receive that contact information. Whether they fill out a form on the website or an ad or in the scheduling app, it's all going to drop into the CRM, the Customer Relationship Management System. This way you can track your contacts' progression in their stages through that journey from first inquiry all the way to enrollment. And along the way, you're going to want to categorize them by program, by country, by stage, by source. And as doing so, you're going to be able to not only initially auto reply to thank you for filling out that first form, but also engage deeper drip email campaigns that would help to nurture them along through that journey from inquiry to enrollment. And as we said, the reporting is going to come primarily out of your CRM, because that's where you're going to be tracking a lot of those data fields and those stage changes. It's also important that the Mautic CRM is API compatible. That means it can send data to other systems and receive data from other systems. So that's very important, as you'll see soon, as we walk through the best uses of these systems. The other system we want to feature is HEM's student portal, or the HEMSP. So this system allows your contacts or prospective students to apply online. So you can have an apply now button on your website, click, and this will generate that application. It has an initial function where they can register, basically creating a register for their name and a password. This allows the possibility of them to fill out the beginning of the application and even stop halfway, save their progress, log back in later that day or later at any time to complete their progress that they've already initiated, so they can just pick up where they left off. It also allows you to provide multiple custom applications. So if you require a different type of application, different questions, different downloads for one program, you can have multiple applications, each custom made for each program. And as I alluded to, applicants can upload documents or PDFs, JPEGs, whatever you may need. It allows you to collect those as part of the application process. It also provides a pay portal if you're charging an application fee, so that can be done online. And you can track application stages, incomplete or complete, or at what stage in between do they set. And also you can view and approve the applications within the system on your end as the administrator in admissions and recruiting. The HEMSP system is also API compatible. Again, it's important to understand each of these systems, these two together, they can work in sync, essentially as one, and we're going to show a lot of that in the time to come. They can also work individually or with other systems. So if you already have an application portal, HEM's Mautic CRM can probably connect with that as long as it's API engaged, and vice versa. If you already have a CRM, you could bring in HEM's student portal and connect it with your existing CRM. So there's lots of flexibility here as these two technologies work together. We've talked a bit about marketing automation. I just want to make sure I clarify that, as you'll see it as we go. This is when the system does some work for you. An auto reply email that you don't have to send, the system sends. Thank you for your inquiry. Or email drip campaigns, or a variety of things that may be lead scoring as it's applied, which means you're providing more points to those who are more engaged in the CRM and in your communications, as well as the integration with other systems. So a lot of these elements can be basically programmed into your CRM so that the CRM can do a lot more work for you, and that frees up your time to do other things, which we'll talk about soon. And as we really get into the body of work here, we always take our projects at HEM through the view of this timeline or journey, as it were. From new inquiry on the left, the first time that they identify themselves to you as a prospective student or someone who's interested to learn more, through each of those stages that we're quite familiar with, to the point of application, to the point of paying and starting, enrolling, and then graduating. We understand that there are actions you want to take as an internal system in admissions, marketing, and recruiting to identify those incoming leads, to assign them to a member of your team who is best to reply and stay in touch with them, to evaluate or determine their intensity of interest and their quality as a prospective student. Do they qualify for many of the things? That comes in especially in the application, where you're able to ask multiple detailed questions, collect a lot more information, and you can understand if this is a viable candidate for sure. And this overlay allows you to see where the two systems really play a role. the CRM in those earlier stages in the first half of that timeline, and the application portal in the second. So it's really important that these two systems work together, speak to each other, so that there's a clean handoff in the middle there, and that content or information that's been collected from that prospect in the first stages can then also be fed into the application portal for the second stages, and vice versa. Here's another view of that same journey, but in a more traditional marketing funnel point of view. And you can see where the Mautic CRM plays a more active role in the top of the funnel, just collecting those first few folks who raise their hand and say, I'm interested to learn more, download a brochure, for example. And also in engaging with them and trying to help nudge them along in their journey so that they set up a meeting, have a conversation, talk more, do a tour. And then it's at the bottom of the funnel where the HEMSP will begin to play a greater role in having them fill out the application and engaging with someone who's in that process. As we always do in our HEM webinars, we ask you some questions too. We have a few polls for you today. And in this case, we want to ask you a few questions, of course, along these lines. Our first being, when a contact fills out a form, an initial form, and that contact info comes in to your system at your school, where does it go? Does it go to your CRM? Does it go to an Excel spreadsheet? Or does it go somewhere else? So let us know. We want to get a feel for what your reality is. You can just click on your answer on your screen, and that allows us to get a feel for what you're realizing, and also who's in the audience. These are all anonymous, so we're just going to see a count and percentages. Awesome. Thank you all for voting. So now we're going to share with you, who's here. Primarily folks who are operating with a CRM, and that's great to know because a lot of what we demonstrate or talk about here, you may be able to get going in your own CRM. Those who are using an Excel spreadsheet, we talk to you folks every day, and we know that that's the first default in terms of I need to establish some organization at some point. So that's good to see kind of who we have in the crowd today. Thank you for that. So we're going to begin with our scenarios. The first scenario being at the very beginning of that timeline, right? What's happening is someone has just filled out an early stage call to action. So download a brochure, for example, and we're going to collect just a little basic bit of information about them so that we can, basically promote or encourage them to fill out the initial form just to get their basic contact info. But what we want to accomplish on our end as marketers, recruiters, admissions folks, we want to understand, well, where did those folks come from? Did they come from a website form, from a Facebook ad? We want to know, if possible, what program or level at the school they're interested in. We also want to be able to send them an auto reply as I described, thanks for your inquiry, because that frees us up to do more manual follow-up. So we're going to talk about and look at each of those elements. So here's an example of that early stage call to action form. Again, it asks very little of them because we want to make it easy for them. We don't want to put up any big hurdles initially. We just want to get their contact info so that we can get them into our system, so to speak. And as you can see, our contact on the right there, we're going to highlight Kia. We can see the channel that Kia came from, and Kia's noted as, in terms of contact stage, is identified as a new inquiry, so we're able to identify them at that. And because we asked for the program to be identified, we can see that the program is Professional Business English. So the CRM now lists all that information for us so that we can work with that. And here's what we're going to do with it. In fact, we're going to program the CRM to send this auto reply email. We've set it on the left is the view within the Mautic CRM. On the right is the view of the actual email itself. So we're going to automate the personalization of the greeting. We're going to automate the customization of the program that they've identified so that when Kia receives this email, she is, she sees she sees this as relevant and personalized as opposed to something that's just super generic. Thanks for your inquiry. We'll be in touch with you soon. So it's going to be better received in that regard. So establishing, as the Mautic CRM can allow you to plant these tokens into your automated emails, it's a big help in terms of how your email is received. And this is the type of automation of what it looks like inside the Mautic CRM. This is a pretty basic automation that just says if they've filled out the form and they've indicated to the left that their program of choice is nursing, well, they'll get the nursing email. If they've indicated the program on the right is bookkeeping instead, they'll get a bookkeeping thank you email. So it's that simple, and we'll show you some more in-depth ones. These are the types of automations we can build for you in the CRM, or we can train you to build them, especially these basic ones, because they're quite easy to learn. And it's important before we get deeper to talk about automations and our own daily realities, because automations are great, and you're about to see automation trees like the one we just saw is super simple. We're about to see some really complex ones that send email after reminder after call to action. But it's important to realize that all of that automation is built to allow you more time to do that personal outreach. No, and I almost say across the board, no student is going to sign up and become a student. No prospect's going to become a student just by filling out a form and clicking on an email. It always helps to increase that ratio of how many people actually become students when you reach out to them individually by a phone call, through a personal SMS, through a conversation, through a meeting. I think that's a reality you all know. It's the great thing about a CRM and this automation is because it can do so many things that allow you to focus on the conversation at hand and not just the basic follow-up and all the basic outreach. So think of it that way, that how the CRM, you can do all of these things within that single system, the Mautic CRM, whether it's a call, send an email, or send an SMS or a WhatsApp message. So it's important to have those all going on in the same place, and for some of it to be automated, some of it to be personalized. Let's go into scenario 2 where it gets a bit more interesting. So your prospect, you've sent that follow-up email of one or another, and they've clicked on an additional form that asks a bit more information of them. So now, because we have more information, we're at the point of sending them some deeper automations and also being able to segment them, those contacts, in different groups. Talk about that in a second. What we want to accomplish at this point is tracking their engagement. This is the most important part of our job as marketers, admissions folks, recruiters. How engaged are they during these middle stages of communication? And what other systems can we integrate that you might be using? You can book me or Calendly or any other scheduler. As long as it's API friendly, it can connect with the Mautic CRM, and we'll show you how that allows you a lot more freedom. So for example, here's an email that you might send out after that auto reply at some point, which basically identifies you as their academic advisor, and click here to schedule a meeting with me. In this case, Mautic has sent that email. Mautic is integrated with You Can Book Me, so that when they click the hyperlink, it takes you to a completely different app as a user. I'm now in You Can Book Me, and I'm filling out a form and choosing a date and time. Because it's integrated, and because Mautic's going to recognize that person's particular email address, as soon as that email address is attached to that date and time and the meeting booked, it will reflect in the CRM, even though the meeting was booked in an outside app. So that's very helpful to understand. Very similar mid-level engagement is in a similar email. Sign up for an info session, for example. So at this point, there's a single session, and all you have to do to sign up is fill out the form. And in this case, the form is asking a couple of more things that we didn't ask of them in the first form. So we're adding data to this person's contact profile. And the Mautic CRM is set up so that it'll recognize this person's email address and simply add that new data into the existing contact profile. Also notice in the email on the left, on both of these examples, we gave them that first call to action to kind of nudge them to the next step. Book a meeting with me or join our info session. We also provided the option for a deeper CTA. Hey, are you already convinced? Well, sign up now. And that would hyperlink to your application portal. It allows them to simply jump through steps because you never quite know where they're at. And this allows you to take advantage of and provide the opportunity for them to kind of jump a few steps. You always want to think in that more optimistic point of view. Okay, so they've filled out one form or the other. In this case, book a meeting. And in the CRM, in the Mautic CRM, we're able to see that now the request type for Kia, our lead, has been updated to be book a meeting. So we know that they engaged in that way and booked through our You Can Book Me element, which is super important to track the efficacy of using that entirely new app. You notice that it also stretched out the other information we collected on that particular contact or prospective student. And this allows us to create a more aggressive automated workflow. As you can see, this one is set up so that based on the landing page the contact filled out, we're able to automatically assign an owner to that lead or that prospect. And that can be identified however you wish. The owner is a member of our team in the school who we want to be in charge of following up folks based on program, based on country, based on the language they speak. So you can set that ownership to be however you want to assign it. Also, because they've indicated a specific program, as we've said, your reply email can be program specific in that way. And also, we can see in that third step right in the center, click the appointment link. Well, they opened our email in this case, and they clicked on a link. Because they've taken those two engagement initiatives, we're first of all going to assign Mautic, if someone opens the email and clicks on a hyperlink, we're going to assign the CRM to upgrade their stage beyond lead or new inquiry into opportunity. So it's a group of leads or contacts that we've assigned to be in a special place for the most engaged, for those who are clicking and opening links. We're also going to assign them some points. We're adding 10 points to them for that click on a link. For the other click on the info session call to action, we're adding 10 points. And what this is called is lead scoring. That's an arbitrary amount of points. You decide how you want to count, but what it allows you to do then is to create segments within the CRM where you can identify, okay, if I'm the lead owner, I want to look at just the leads where I'm identified as owner who have accumulated more than 30 points. What that allows me to see is just the few people who are the absolutely most engaged. You can say have accumulated 30 points in the last 10 days. So they're the most engaged lately. This makes my time more efficient as a person in recruiting and admissions, where I can follow up with those folks first because they've indicated to us through their actions they're most engaged, most interested. And that's more likely to become an enrollment. Then once I've done those follow-ups, I can then move on to the other folks in different groups. And you can see all the different automations or actions that can be set in terms of these automation workflows on the right to update stages, to track opens, etc. So that's very much an important element there. And it's now time for our second poll. So I want to ask you if you guys are currently in the process of categorizing or prioritizing leads. So categorizing by program, stage, location, or prioritizing, whether you're using points or building those segments, those subgroups of leads, so lists that have basically smaller groups so you can track them more. So go ahead and click to vote to let us know. This should be interesting because most of you are using CRMs, so we should see a little bit of leaning toward the yeses here. I'm going to close up the poll. and I'll share our numbers there. And actually, I find that interesting, Elias. We got more CRM users, but fewer categorizers and prioritizers. That's different.
Yeah.
We, you know, in our daily conversations with schools, Elias and I see all types, and we talk with so many varieties of folks in different stages of technology and also advancement in the use of the technology. So we're really never surprised to see what we see when we see it. And I'll allow Elias now to kind of carry on with those last two scenarios.
Okay, thank you, Scott. So for this scenario and this part of the funnel, we're focused on the application stages. And this is where the HMSP will greatly help with this process, from managing applicants' data, tracking their application progress, communicating the application status to the applicant, collecting application fees, at the time, keeping, of course, data synced with the CRM for every saved application step. And using that, of course, you can configure automations around each part of this process in the CRM. With HMSP, you can customize the application login page, collect more information via the added form. You know, we can add program, where did you hear about us, you know, the source. And that would be the first stage of the application process. Registration is done, an account is created. Using the application builder, you can divide the application into one or multiple sections, add custom fields to each section. And with the applicant saving the information and moving from one section to another, that's stage 2 of the process. The application started, so incomplete application. Once the application is submitted, the stage 3 is triggered, and of course you can add additional application stages, like payment received is one example. In the case where a payment gateway is linked to the application and you're collecting application fees. Also, another stage would be contract signed. HEMSP offers an Adobe Sign integration where you could generate a contract and send it for signature. Of course, this contract is already mapped and pulling the data automatically from the submitted application. From the admin interface of HEMSP, you'll be able to view these applications, track the progress by steps, filter data by program, progress percentage. You'll be able also to archive applications and export the data. Here you're seeing the same profile, you know, in HEMSP versus Mautic. In HEMSP, you can view these separate submissions. If the contact submitted multiple applications, you can manage uploaded documents. But all this also is forwarded and synced to the CRM as well. And you can control the stage of this application from the CRM, which is synced with HEMSP, and also it reflects on the applicant dashboard view. The applicant can view the status of their application. Here in the CRM, we see those different stages of the application process. Every stage is automated based on the application of the action of the applicant in HEMSP. In this example, once they register, their stage is updated to new account and their contact type remains lead. Once the first application step is saved, the stage becomes incomplete application and then submitted, paid, or contract signed. In terms of automation around the application process, Synced stages will help you set up multiple follow-up campaigns. In this first one you're seeing here, we're targeting new registrations, those who signed up and didn't start an application. So these added timed conditions in this campaign will check the lead stage and send an email if there's no progress. Of course, the emails will stop once they start the application. Another automation can be configured, and that's when the applicant starts an application. We add this condition to check if the application is submitted and send follow-up emails offering assistance, reminding the applicant to submit the application. To build these campaigns, of course, we only need to segment the data by stage, build the emails, and use the campaign builder in the CRM to branch the pieces together. Now, the funnel here is complete. You can automate the contact type update from applicant to student. The record of the contact is saved in the CRM, also in HEMSP. Also, throughout this whole life cycle, the CRM offers some reporting which will keep you updated on conversions, submissions, activities, and other metrics. But before we check that, here's a question for you. How often do you run ROI reports in your CRM or other databases?
Yeah, I forgot we had that last poll. This is a good one because this is a step that everyone wants to take, but we always run out of time, right? In your day, in your week, so you have planned. So please vote. Tell us how often you do reports or not. We know the reality of setting them up, etc. So it'll be interesting to see what your reality is. Okay, here come the results. I'll let you read the results.
Okay, once a week. And reports. Now, 50% asking about reports.
Yeah, okay.
So given that your forms tracking is properly configured in the CRM, this report that you're seeing here, lead conversion, will provide you with the conversion numbers by source. You can generate this also by the rep or program or country. You can choose your top milestone stages or just simply select all stages. Another report would be to track some admission activities. If you want to track these activities in the CRM, this is a summary listing all enabled used activity services from email to SMS and meetings, all listed in this report by rep. Another one, here we're extracting the information around the applications using the advanced metrics reports within the CRM. You're able to see here how many new accounts, incomplete applications, submitted applications. And if you want to dive deeper into these numbers, with enabling tracking in HEMSP and configuring your Google Analytics, you'll be able to view detailed information around the traffic source that drove more applications.
And that concludes our tour from new inquiry to application to checking the data in terms of those reports. And those reports are, I mean, a majority of them were in the CRM, right, Elias?
Yes, they are all pre-configured, with the CRM. There are more reports, of course, more detailed reports, call outcome, meeting outcome, all these around the activities as well.
That's another cool thing, and kind of the overarching element of the Mautic CRM that we've built on our end. we've added reporting to it. So Elias and his team have added these reports that come with the CRM. So they're basically pre-built for you. We have 10 reports for schools that are specific to the types of things you're going to measure, like the ones he just showed. So if you're interested for us to give you a deeper tour of the system itself, we can walk through it live with you, or the HEMSP application portal. We begin those demos with a conversation. We ask you, how do you want this type of a system to work for you? What features and benefits are you looking for? What's going to be most valuable in your case? Each school is different. You're going to have different audiences and different processes, and that's going to really help us to make that demo worth your time. So please reach out to either of us. Our contact information is here, and you can reach to us directly and say, hey, let's set up a demo of one system. We can do both systems in the same demo. It's quite easy, and we're happy to do that for you. So please reach out for that free demo of the systems. I'm going to leave our contact information up as we roll out here into question time. Our first question is often asked, right? Because they jumped in a little after the first couple of minutes. Everyone who's attending will receive an email with a recording of this webinar as well as the slide deck, so that you can pour through it, all of the great information that we shared. And that'll be available to you in the next couple of days at the latest via email. So we'll send you the recording and the slide deck. Questions, we often get the question about how do you go about collecting all the data that you're measuring? So in terms of measuring enrollment and stages, or all of the different aspects of source or channel or request type, how do you make sure that that's tracked? So, I mean, the simple first answer to that, and I'll let you follow up, Elias, is you have to ask, right? You kind of want to think the end game first. What do you want to be able to measure? And then over time, you want to build your forms from the first small form to the deeper middle form to the full application form. You need to make sure you ask each of those questions along the way so that you can categorize as you go. Any other aspects to that answer, Elias?
I guess that's what you've mentioned. So measuring, you have to have, the correct source loaded into your system, configured, all the proper custom fields added, and all the tracking in place will help you, pull the measuring for all these parts.
Right, though that's a good point you bring up, that you need to configure the forms wherever they might be so that they're identified as the Google form when it comes into the Mautic, or the website form, or the Facebook form, so that so that's an important part as well, a little more technical. Another good question here, can we work with agencies in both of these systems? Can these systems service agencies as well? Can you answer that, Elias?
Yes, of course. Now in HEMSP, you can build an agent form, and agents can log in, and they can add, applications. They can start applications and submit it on behalf of students. They can even send credentials to students to complete the application. So that's the agent interface. And at the same time, this information is pushed to the CRM, where you have an agency module. You have all these agencies saved there, and all the agents linked to each agency. And you can have students as well linked to agents. Within each profile, you have the option to link to an agency and an agent. So yes, you can manage agents and agency with both systems.
And that's a real benefit, not only from the agency side, which is just a kind of a different point of view than the school itself, but it's also really valuable for the school because you're able to include your agents as contacts in the system, communicate to them, and also, like you said, track how many students each agent brings to you and ultimately how many enrolled. Yeah, there's so much that the agent can do on their side. Also, the school can do in including their agents as a user as well. So really good stuff. We have come to the end of our time. We don't want to go any longer than we know you have a busy day as well. So we want to thank you very much again for spending this time with us and joining the webinar for HEM. And again, you'll receive the recording of this in your email the next couple of days. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us.